Secondary School. Sorry about that. The next two schools, we have Busu Secondary School and Coronation College. The Busu Secondary School participants are Joyce Metakaisava, Alang Isaac, Mark Steven, and Komuna Caro. Please put your hands together to the Busu team. The Coronation College team. We have Renee Siaguru, Schneider Yassi, Annette Tikiri, and Kelvin Kalate. Please put your hands together for the Coronation College team. Their topic of debate is decentralization can break PNG. Busu Secondary School is going for the topic and Coronation College going against the topic. Now I'd like to call upon the first speaker of Busu Secondary School.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Thank you, adjudicators, timekeepers, audience, and my fellow opponents. First of all, I would like to introduce my team and what we're going to say. The first speaker, myself, I'll be talking on the social aspect of the topic that we'll be discussing on. The second speaker, on my right, Ms. Alang Isaac, will be stressing more on the causes of decentralization and how it can affect this nation. The third speaker, Mark Steven, is going to stress further on the economical perspectives of how decentralization will destroy this nation. And finally, the fourth speaker, Komuna Karo, is going to talk about the political aspect and summarize our debate. Now, I would like to introduce the team on what the affirmative team would be stressing about. And that is, decentralization can break PNG. Repeating, decentralization can break PNG. I would firstly like to define the term decentralization. Decentralization is a word by it combines of two, a suffix, then it has the word itself, and that is central. I would like to get the main idea here, and that is central, people. Decentralization is reorganizing into smaller units or away from the main or center aspect, depending on the degree to which the action is, whether to be social, economical, or political, etc. Decentralization means transferring of official, i.e. financial, political, administrative mandate or power from higher level to a lower level. In simple terms, decentralization is breaking away. Now, I'm going to define the word breaking. In our topic, it says decentralization can break PNG. Break, it is to damage or separate something from a whole body. Now, to my point. Decentralization seen in the social aspect. We come from the basic unit, and that is a family. All of us here, I believe, have a family. And a family consists of a father, a mother, and the children. And I believe the majority of us here are the children in our family. I would like to demonstrate decentralization in a family. We take, for instance, the father, who is the head of the family. If the father breaks away or decentralizes himself from the family unit as being one and being the center here, what will happen to the family? I would like all of us to hear this. What will happen to the family? It will eventually break away. It will cause social problem in the family. domestic violence. The mother is not going to be there for the child because she's concerning too much about the father. The children here are not going to benefit because they'll be in trauma. Plenty of us here, I believe, come from these families whereby our father or mother has left us. We're going through this thing. This is decentralized, people. This is decentralization here. Now, taking this smaller picture and putting it into a bigger picture, PNG as a whole. PNG is the family here. If you decentralize a province from PNG, what is going to happen? A classic example, no offense to any Bougainville students or members here, that is Bougainville or the autonomous region of Bougainville is a very classic example here. It broke away from PNG. It broke away and then has made up its own state, should I say. This is a classic example. And what we're trying to say here is that together we can stand. And this, looking at the social aspect, is civil war. Civil war or civil arrest here is saying that a statement going up against another statement. PNG and Bougainville were one at once, but then they broke away. Our fellow statement had to fight against our fellow statement in Bougainville, and more bloodshed was spilled that day. And on that very day, we now can see that decentralization can seriously break PNG. So my fellow audience, get this point. We're trying to say that decentralization is not necessary a concept required or measurement of service delivery responsibilities from higher to lower administration. Decentralization definitely meaning the opposite of being center or main as one. Thank you.
Thank you, first speaker of the government side. Now I'd like to call upon the first speaker of Coronation College.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good afternoon, adjudicators, audience, and the rest of Papua New Guinea. I, as the first speaker of the opposition, will be introducing our team, defining the topic, and stating points from the political perspective. Our second speaker will focus on the social effects of decentralization, while our third speaker will speak from the economical aspect. And our fourth and final speaker will summarize our team's line on our topic, decentralization cannot break Papua New Guinea. Decentralization can be defined as the distribution and the delegation of power and certain responsibilities from the higher levels of government to the lower levels. Defined in context, break means to split or to separate. Now, decentralization refers to the distribution of certain powers such as social services, health, agriculture, transport and works, and other more socially related responsibilities can be decentralized. The more important functions, such as defense, foreign affairs, internal security, and powers to make and pass legislation will remain with the national government. Now I'd like to rebut on a point stated by the first speaker of the government. The first speaker of the government used the family as an example of decentralization. The children in this family are young, and therefore they will be traumatized when the father figure, or in this case we'll take it as the central government, breaks away from this family. Ladies and gentlemen, the children are young, the provincial and local level governments are not young. We have just celebrated 35 years of independence, and I believe that these provincial and local level governments have been behind the scenes for too long. It is about time we give them more power to speak up. Now on to my points. I have three very important points to bring across to your attention. Firstly, decentralization can also be seen as a means of stamping out corruption. The spread of power allows transparency in the government. And because decentralization tends to enhance transparency and accountability, the amount of money wrongfully diverted declines. Decentralization of government spending is closely associated with lower corruption among bureaucrats, leaving more money to spend on basic services for the people, which is what all democratic political systems should be about, the people. When a lot of power is vested in a central government, the members and certain authorities get too powerful, and the danger is that they will tend to take away the rights of the people or make decisions to suit their own needs and not for the good of the people of Papua New Guinea. Decentralization is a way of bringing the power of decision-making closer to the people. Secondly, decentralization provides bureaucrats with early warnings of potential disasters, enabling quick and remedial action. For example, Leh is an industrialized city, and this province contributes most in terms of taxes and VAT. However, this money goes down to the central government. When Morobe needs financial help to fix our awful roads, we must again apply for these funds that we put there. Our petition will sit in the corridors of Waigani and collect dust, while our roads deteriorate further. This is why decentralization is the way to go. And this is one of the reasons why our Lord Mayor, James Kay, is fighting for Leh to have its own commission. The point is that the disadvantage of a centralized political system is that it is very time-consuming. The decision-making is very time-consuming. Unnecessary bureaucracies hinder quick action. Decentralization puts more power in the hands of the provincial and local assemblies, and they can make decisions in a timely and logical manner. And this, ladies and gentlemen, cannot break Papua New Guinea. Finally, since 1977, a year after independence, the decentralized provincial and local assemblies were formed, comprising of 19 provinces and the District of National Capital. These provinces had a premier, now known as governors, and a constitution. However, the provincial and local governments are ultimately answerable to the national government. Also, behind the scenes have been another third level of government, the local level government. So since 1977, this nation was administered through a decentralized system of government, and the nation has not collapsed or disintegrated into oblivion. However, more power and authority needs to be vested in these low-lying governments so that strategies are implemented for the people. So 3 very important points are before us, ladies and gentlemen. 1, decentralization enhances transparency, thus reduces corruption. 2, the disadvantage of a centralized system is the process of decision-making is time-consuming. Decentralization is the opposite of this. And 3, we have just celebrated 35 years of independence as a nation, and Papua New Guinea has not collapsed or disintegrated. What's the fuss? Decentralization cannot break Papua New Guinea. I know I have convinced you. Thank you.
Thank you, first speaker of Coronation College. Now I'd like to call upon the second speaker of the affirmative team.
First of all, thank you, MC, Chairperson, plus the timekeepers and the audience. I, as the second speaker of the affirmative theme, like to once again introduce the topic that we're going for, which is decentralization can break PNG. Before I proceed with my presentation speech here, I'd like to rebut on what the first speaker of the opposing team have said. She had stated, the first speaker of the opposing team has stated something about stamping out of corruption in the government. Well, the stamping out of corruption in the government is an individual. Again, as some of the speakers have said already, it depends on an individual, how an individual makes decision upon his life. What's the use of we electing representatives to representing leaders to represent us in the government? These leaders that will represent us to at least have a saying on how the resources will be diverted to, and how the funds will be used in the country. And at least they have a say in that. Okay, to my point, I'm going to state my point on how decentralization, the types of decentralization that can break PNG. According to the Economics for the Developing Nation, Book 1 and 2, one of the causes of decentralization is the diverse culture. For example, our language. We Papua New Guineans speak over about 800 languages, and this is a form of decentralization. When we speak different languages, we cannot understand ourselves, and therefore there is no form of communications between the government and also the communities. Secondly, is the access to capital and technical resources. As we all know, the LLG project is an issue today. The Southern Islands people, they have, if they happen to decentralize themselves from Papua New Guinea economy, then they will be creating their own government, and it's a form of decentralization. They will be creating their own environment, and the resources, the gas that is extracted from the soil will be, the benefit will go back to only the Southern Islanders and not the Oro people, Oro province, which are not, they have some of the resources. That is the unequal distribution of the resources and funds. And thirdly, the inequality of resources and sharing benefits. We, the affirmative theme, neglect decentralization. And we're in favor of either the centralization can break PNG. The center can provide coherent and efficient policy and budget management platform in which the country can operate smoothly. Speaking of operating smoothly means that a centralized system has a form of oneness, togetherness, and results in peace and harmony. Let me give you an example. If I picture myself as the country, my body as a country, and I take my brain, and there's one brain here, and then the other brain here, and the other brain maybe in my heart, and the other one on my leg, and then they all operate at the same time. The other brain will talk about boys. I'll be dreaming about boys, and the other one will think about fighting, and the other one will be thinking about eating ice cream, or I don't know. And then you see, the body, we need a government, we need a centralized system where the country can operate smoothly. And that is, like I use myself as an example, that is the brain. The government is the brain. We need to operate from a central point of view and not a decentralized way. And to summarize on our topic, again, as we have just did, we said the national pledge. We said that we, the people of Papua New Guinea, pledge ourselves united in one nation, blah, 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 blah. We pledge to build a democratic society based on justice, equality, and prosperity. We pledge to stand together as one people, one nation, one country. And you can see a blessing that is added on to it. That is, God bless Papua New Guinea. If we based our government on centralized systems, we are likely to see development in our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Second speaker of Busu Secondary School. May I just remind the audience, please, no distraction to the participants. Also, no discrimination to either schools. Please behave yourselves, participants. Now I'd like to call upon the second speaker of Coronation College.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, timekeepers and adjudicators. I, the second speaker of the opposition, will be elaborating on the social aspect of our topic, which is decentralization cannot, and I repeat, will not destroy our country. Sorry. Okay. Before I continue with my points, I would like to rebut on what the second speaker of the affirmative has stated. In the past, yes, decentralization was bad because we were so diverse with those 800 different languages and 1,000 different ethnic groups, okay? We came from one province. Now, all of you sitting here can agree with me when you say that you are mixed more than one province. And so this makes you a Papua New Guinean. You do not have that regional patriotism, okay? So even though you may say that decentralization is bad because we come from one province, it will not have an effect on you because you are mixed more than one province these days. Okay, and moving on to my points, I would like to stress very clearly that in our country, crime is one thing that breaks up our communities, okay? And there are many contributing factors towards crime. That is unemployment and unstable social activities and failure in service delivery. I would like to stress on each one of my points clearly to you all. Unemployment. Crime is being at its peak because the national level of the government does not recognize the basic needs of us, the people. The local level of the government, that is, we understand what our basic needs are. They understand what our basic needs are. But at the national level of the government, as stated by our first speaker, they think that they know what we need. But at the local level of the government, they understand us better. They hear our voices better than the people up there. Okay. And moving on to my points, I would like to stress very clearly that in our country, crime is one thing that breaks up our communities. Okay? And there are many contributing factors towards crime. That is unemployment and unstable social activities and failure in service delivery. I would like to stress on each one of my points clearly to you all. Unemployment. Crime is being at its peak because the national level of the government does not recognize the basic needs of us, the people. The local level of the government, that is, we understand what our basic needs are. They understand what our basic needs are. But at the national level of the government, as stated by our first speaker, they think that they know what we need. But at the local level of the government, they understand us better. They hear our voices better than the people up there. Okay. And to my second point, the failure in service delivery. The failure in service delivery has also given rise to crime, okay? When people do not get the basic needs that they need, in order to survive, crimes are being committed, okay? And when these crimes are being committed, there's one thing that people have in mind, and that is that they need to survive. They need to get what they need to survive. And these things that we need to survive can be provided by our local level, by our government. But because we are centralized and undecentralized, because we are centralized, all the power is at the national level of the government. Our local level of the government does not have the power to see what we need and improve on that. The third and probably the final point that I will be stressing is that it encourages the community to work collaboratively with our government. Decentralization provides employment. Going back to my previous point. On an article printed in the National Thursday 24th, it said that the cocoa and coconut industry was funded by the local level of the government to provide jobs for more than 100 people in the Tavilo district in East New Britain province. This is an example of decentralization where more than 100 people were catered for. And this could minimize crime in our country, hence not breaking our country. To my last point, that is, encourages the community to work collaboratively. Okay, I would like to say that when you know that someone is doing good for you, you will help that person, right? And at our level, we do not know what the national government has in store for us. But at the local level of the government, we get information much better than we do at the national level of the government. I would like to give an example of our school societies. We have our principal. They would make the national level of the government. Then we have our teachers that would make the provincial. Then we have our prefects who would make the local level of the government. And then we have us students. Okay, you as a student, you will not feel the ease to go up to a board member or your principal to talk to them about issues affecting you, right? You would go first to your prefects because you are more at ease with them. Same to us, individuals in our societies, we can better talk to our local representatives than those in the parliament, right? So when we do this, we communicate more effectively and they hear what we have to say and they work on that. Okay, to sum it all off, I'd like to say that decentralization, here's what the people have to say and encourages community to work collaboratively. And lastly, I'd like to say that we cannot keep everything at a central point. In order for us to develop Papua New Guinea, we need to develop our provinces first. Thank you.
Thank you. Second speaker of Coronation College. Now I'd like to call upon the third speaker of Busu Secondary School.
Good afternoon, educator, chair lady, audience, and of course, my fellow opponents. Okay, before I give my point, my team's view, I'd like to rebut on what the opposition has pointed out. Okay, they said something about political decentralization. Political decentralization may be seen as good, but the more we break things down, the more chances of corruption to creep in. Okay, another thing they stated was that for Morobe to become autonomous just like Bougainville. However, we have to be mindful about other provinces which don't have the tax base to offset their costs. They don't have the basic resources or infrastructure in place to generate revenue. Okay, back to my point. Our country has suffered at the hands of decentralization. For instance, in our case, PNG, with all due respect to all the Bougainvilleans here, in Bougainville, when it became decentralized, was in this process of achieving decentralization, a lot of blood was being shed. And a lot of blood was shed. How much more blood do we want to see here in PNG? How much more blood do we want to see being shed? Economically speaking, the country felt the pinch of decentralization. According to Macroeconomics Crisis and Structural Reform in PNG by Agogo Mauli, he stated that before the crisis between 1975 and 1993, our PNG Kina exchange rate against the US dollar was 1.1 Kina to 1.5. Our currency was heavy. But after the crisis, it saw our exchange rate slump, and currently it is at 0.3 Kina against the US dollar. And these are the effects of decentralization. And this hampered the development of our economy. If I were to ask you all here, does anyone here have a one-dollar coin in the pocket? The answer is no. And that's what decentralization has brought about. It has devalued our kina. Okay, to be factual with you people in figures, as released by the Bank of Papua New Guinea in its quarterly economy bulletin, stated the following. During the crisis, there was an increase in government spending by 80 million kina. 80 million kina could have been used to develop our rural areas, which could have been used to maintain our roads, our health center, our education. But it was used to solve the crisis which the people were pushing for decentralization. Also, after the crisis, it saw the devaluation of the PNG kina by 10%, and currently it is more than 50%. That's how much our PNG currency exchange rate has been devalued. Also, decentralization brings wage restraints. Wage restraints meaning the wage reductions, and the ordinary people are suffering from it. Right now we see that people, times we Papua New Guineans are just content with what we have. That's the good thing about us. But to be quite frank with us, not everyone is living a luxurious life. Not everyone is happy with the services that we have. And that was brought about through decentralization. Okay, economically speaking, decentralization causes economic disintegration. Disintegration discourages investment from foreign and locals. Internationally, we can't export our goods outwards to the foreign nations because they know that our economy, the products that we produce, are of low quality because the economy is not stable. And also, foreign investors cannot come into PNG and invest because our economy is unstable. Therefore, decentralization can break PNG, and it has broke PNG. That's why. Do you all want to see it happen again?
Thank you, third speaker of the government side. Now I'd like to call upon the third speaker of Coronation College, the opposing team.
Thank you, Chairperson, and hello, audience, judges. Firstly, before I say my points, I would like to rebut on some of the comments made by the opposition. Now, I would like to make it very clear that we are not talking about the physical separation or the formation of a new country. We are talking about dividing of powers to develop a strong province that will build Papua New Guinea. Also, the speaker said that because of decentralization, the Kina dropped. That is incorrect. It was because of the Bougainville crisis, the Papua New Guinea needed money to fund the army. The Papua New Guinea government needed money from the World Bank. But to borrow the money, we needed to float the Kina. Because we did not have enough Kina in the country to support that, that is why the Kina dropped when we floated it, not because of decentralization. Now to my points. Decentralization is greatly beneficial to the people of Papua New Guinea. Decentralization can be defined as the powers divided among lower levels of government, like from the national to the provincial, to the local, to the district, to the wards. Now, the decentralization of power allows for the lower levels of governments to make decisions on the development and maintenance of basic yet significant services within their areas. And also, because the government is now closer to the people, the government can better understand the people's needs and wants and provide them. There is also the formation of the joint district budget priority committee. Now, this joint district budget priority committee was established in each district around Papua New Guinea. Now, the people identify projects that they want to be done, and they are represented by their local level government president, who goes to the committee and says what the people want. Decentralization makes development projects more sustainable, cost efficient, because local people are involved in the design, execution, and monitoring. This is a key to achieving national economical growth. Another example is the formation of the Treasury Rollout Program in 2005 by Bart Philemon, the then Deputy Prime Minister and Treasury Minister. The program gives lower levels of government authority to carry out development on roads, infrastructures, and services within their areas. This is the key to achieving a stable economy. My second point is that Papua New Guinea is a rich country. We are one of the richest countries in the world. We have more natural resources than any other country in the world. Now, decentralization allows provinces to maximize development by fully utilizing the money made in their provinces. Lower levels of government are given more economical authority to carry out development. An example of this is the establishment of commissions. A good example is the National Capital District in the Central Province. The establishment of the National Capital District meant that all money that was made within the National Capital District was kept in the Central Province to develop Port Moresby. That's why we can see Port Moresby is light years ahead of Papua New Guinea in terms of development and economic stability. Now, to summarize my points, we need a strong nation. But to build a strong nation, we need a solid base to build upon. This, in Papua New Guinea's case, is the provinces. The decentralization of Papua New Guinea allows for the distribution of authority and allows for the provinces to maximize the development by utilizing the revenue produced in the province. The economical growth in the province will in turn benefit the country. All of this will result in Papua New Guinea becoming a strong and economically stable country and thus advancing Papua New Guinea's standing in the world stage. Therefore, we, the opposition, strongly believe that decentralization cannot break Papua New Guinea. Thank you.
Thank you. Third speaker of Coronation College. This is the IBS School Debate Competitions in the Ley Moraba Province. The two schools currently debating are Busu Secondary School and Coronation College. Their topic of discussion is decentralization can break PNG. Busu Secondary School is going for the topic and Coronation College is going against the topic. Now I'd like to call upon the final speaker of the affirmative team.
Thank you, Chairperson, adjudicators, timekeepers, ladies and gentlemen, students, and fellow debaters. I would like to reaffirm you that decentralization can and will break PNG. According to the second and third speaker, they said that for the negative side, they said this speaker we have to develop our provinces first. And as you can see, as we decentralize from each other, some provinces are very rich in mineral resources, while others are very poor. If we intend to keep our own incomes or revenues raised in our own provinces, the others will suffer. For instance, the LNG project. If all the money are kept up there, what will happen to Manus? It is a form of decentralization. It breaks us. Even though we are under Papua New Guinea, still we are broken. And he said about decentralization in Bougainville is not a physical breaking or something. Politically speaking, decentralization is the transferring of power or authority to the local levels. Due to the resources available in each provinces, some provinces will become so powerful, while others won't. And the power they have, the national government, for instance, may not have, he will just be an overseer over what is done in that province. So he will not have a much say about what the leader, for example, the governor is doing in that province. So if he abuses his power to gain the wealth of for greed, this will cause decentralization in Papua New Guinea. And thus this will increase
the gap between the rich and poor in our country. And in accordance to the resources available to them. As stated by our first speaker, our diverse culture and the rebuttal by the negative side is that it was in the past. But actually, our diverse culture is still practiced today. And this diverse culture is a form of decentralization and is a contributing factor of the breaking down and a deteriorating growth of our economy. This is clearly seen in everyday circumstances. So we cannot deny that decentralization can break PNG, and it's a fact that can be proven. It's a fact that is clearly seen every day in our lives, in our daily lives. In terms of development, the revenue raised by the resources in terms of industries such as mining, fishing, they are pooled in Waigani so that they are equally distributed towards each and every province so that everybody benefits equal share. That is centralization. And when decentralization comes, others are missed out, unfortunately and sadly. I want to reaffirm you again from our point of perspective that we, the Papua New Guineans, must know that decentralization will break us. If we continue to decentralize, the power that is given to some leaders, forgive me. Yeah, back to my point. Political decentralization. This will cause, in terms of our international relations with other countries, who will want to invest in us if we are decentralized? Who will want to invest money in our economy when it is unstable? When decentralization occurs, in respect to those who are Bougainvillean here, when we are going through civil unrest, when our province wants to be decentralized from the national government, we want to be separated because we have resources, because we have political powers, that we want to be separated from them, and causes civil unrest in our society, people fighting, bloodshed everywhere. This causes investors not to invest in our society, in our economy, causing our economic growth to deteriorate, to slow. And it is one of the causes of the social effects in our society that we are facing. Because we belong to a group, we differentiate ourselves from others. That is a form of decentralization. When we differentiate ourselves from others, we tend to fight against each other. If we have the one mindset, one language, one thinking, if we are centralized, then we would be okay. We will be better off. Our economy would increase in terms of development. In terms of our defense system, when we are decentralized, meaning we want to be separated from the government, and we are still under the big name PNG, and there's a war coming up against us, and we are all fighting against each other. How can we solve that problem? How can we stand together when we have different mindsets? It breaks us in one way. Decentralization, it breaks Papua New Guinea when we are under the big name tag Papua New Guinea, when our provinces are separated. So this breaks us. Decentralization breaks Papua New Guinea. Our defense cannot defend us. We cannot be defended from Indonesia, for example, if they want to invade us. Whilst, let's say, Sundown is fighting against Morobe, and then war comes up against Papua New Guinea. Who will defend us when we are fighting against ourselves? And it breaks us, breaks our economy, breaks our social standards in the global sector. Economically speaking, in centralization, we work together, we stand together. For example, like if there's the LNG up in the Southern Highlands, there's the fishery industries up in Morobe. So when all the revenues are accumulated and are distributed among each provinces, our GDP increases and thus improves. And thus, centralization doesn't work that way. Decentralization doesn't work that way. And therefore, I would like to reaffirm you that decentralization will and can and will always, in the future, if the government tries to use or practice decentralization, PNG will be broken.
Thank you. That was the final speaker of the affirmative team. Now I'd like to call upon the final speaker of the opposing team, Coronation College.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, educators and audience. We, the opposition, strongly believe that decentralization cannot break Papua New Guinea. I, as the final speaker, am going to summarize my team's arguments. But before I do that, I'd like to rebut on a few points mentioned by the government side. They used Bougainville as an example. But the thing is, Bougainville is not an example of decentralization. Bougainville is an autonomous region. There is a difference. An autonomous region is one where full powers have been given to it. Economic, whatever you call it, all these powers are given to it. But decentralization, only certain powers are given. The most important powers are held back by the government. And there are laws which govern these powers. So all these economic effects where we're facing today, and all these social effects where we're facing today, where they said it was because of the Bougainville case, where there was bloodshed and all this. This is not the result of autonomy. This is not the result of decentralization, but rather it's the result of autonomy. The government side also stated the unequal spread of benefit. But there are laws in place which govern this. So how will there be an unequal spread of wealth? The example of the body used by the government, they said if we had one brain, then it would be okay. But what happens when this one brain tells you to do wrong things? It tells you to commit crimes. You do it because you have only one brain. If you had 3, 4, or even 19 brains, then you would be able to make a better decision because your brains will consult each other and they will make a better decision. Throughout their arguments, the government side stressed that corruption will prevail if decentralization took place. But they haven't stated how corruption will take place if decentralization took place. What is this? The part on Morobe does not have infrastructure and it cannot support itself. But from our research, we have found out from PNG ports that it makes, PNG ports down here in Leh, it makes 60 million kina annually. And from this 60 million kina, 20 million kina is profit. But it is sent to the government, national government budget, so they can break it up into all other provinces. And when it is broken up, we only get 10 million back. How can we develop Leh with this 10 million? With that 20 million, we could have developed Leh more better. These diverse cultures that we are practicing today, they are not the same as the ones practiced in the past. They have changed. The defense, where they said, what if Indonesia wanted to attack us? How would we combine to attack them? Defense is one of the most important power of the government, and it holds this power back. It does not decentralize the defense of the country. Now to summarize, decentralization cannot break apart Papua New Guinea because it minimizes corruption. Corruption is a factor that breaks Papua New Guinea. With this, I mean that it widens the gap between the rich and the poor. The rich get richer because of corruption, because of the mismanagement of funds. And the poor, on the other hand, get more and more poorer. Decentralization will minimize corruption as it brings leaders close to the people. The more closer the leaders are to the people, there will be more interaction, collaboration, and understanding amongst the leaders and the people. This will enhance transparency and accountability. These are the two basic things we need to have in order to weed corruption right at its roots. With a centralized system of government, it is a waste of resources and is time-consuming. For example, checks allocated for district projects can now be printed at the district treasury office, now that we have a decentralized system in the economic system. So, in the centralized system, we have to wait for months and even years for these checks to be printed at the provincial district treasury office. We claim to be a democratic country, so why do we condemn decentralization? Decentralization is part and parcel of democracy. We have been granted independence with a democratic system of government for the past 35 years. And until now, the country has not disintegrated singly in any how. Economically, why would we say decentralization can break apart Papua New Guinea? Decentralization is really the building block at the district level. The Treasury Rollout Program is an example of decentralization economically. Through this program, districts are given more economic power, and district level governments, they understand better the needs and services of the people as they are close to the people. Therefore, they will spend wisely, and spending wisely, they will be able to develop the districts better economically. Decentralization is associated with effective service delivery. With effective service delivery at district levels, everyone is more involved in one way or another in the development of Papua New Guinea. This can minimize problems which can break apart families and societies like rural urban drift, and criminal activities. To conclude, I would like to show you the political structure of Papua New Guinea. At the top, we have the national government, followed by the provincial government, the district government, the local level government, and we have the wards. That's where the villages are. We have this system already in place. We just need to empower it. We need to decentralize. We need to give more powers to this system. We need to take a bottom to top up approach. With this, I tell you, Papua New Guinea will become a better and a stronger nation, and it will not break apart. Therefore, we the opposition strongly and firmly believe that decentralization cannot break PNG apart.
Thank you. That was the final speaker of the opposition side. Please, a round of applause to the two teams, Busu and Coronation College. Yep, and now we have our question time. Question time, one question directed to the government side, one question directed to the opposition. Yes, Malahang.
This question is directed to the government side, especially the first speaker. From my understanding, decentralization cannot break PNG. It is the people who will break PNG. Decentralization allows distribution of wealth and political power to the provincial and local level government. Do you want everything to be done in Waigani, and what is the purpose of having provincial and local level government? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Malahang. Okay, forget it. I'll answer your question. PNG is a constitution, right? PNG is a state, a body, one. PNG is made up of the 19 provinces. We depend on each other, okay? I am not going to move myself as a Morabian away to support my fellow people up there in Manus, for instance. Isn't this greedy? Isn't the Bible stating that we must learn how to share and care? Isn't PNG also known to be a Christian country? Should we practice this, or should we be greedy by taking our own resources, benefiting ourselves? This is a constitution made by those government sectors. Waigani is being the head there. They will distribute those revenues, those money that we get into our country, and then separate them equally to all the different areas. So I would like to clearly stress this point, where he's coming from, which I've picked up, and that is, he's pointing that at Waigani, presumably, there will be corruption. I would like to get this into our mindset here, people. Corruption is bad practice. Bad practice meaning it is not the system. Centralization is the system that guides this country. Decentralization is a system. The person that is elected into that government is the person that is corrupting it. That's why funds are not given down there. You get it? That is called abuse of power. He is using his power as a leader to corrupt it. That's why people are not benefiting from it. So be wise when you vote, whoever you vote into the parliament. Because this practice, corruption, is internal development. This is us, human beings. I, for myself, must develop myself before I get into the society. Thank you very much. I believe that answers your question.
Thank you. We'll have one more question directed to the opposition. Not from... any question for the opposition? No question? Okay, there's no question to the opposition side. We will have our judges' remarks now.
We will proceed. It is interesting. Who's actually learned something today? Who's actually learning something? Look at the hands. Just look at the hands. Busu Secondary High School coronation. I congratulate you for a debate well done. We expect to see the results very soon. I know for some of you the waiting is killing. The waiting is killing. Who is that? No. All right. Just hang in there. We're having an exciting time. If you are listening to us by radio, if you're around Morobe, somewhere within Lake City, come around to Coronation College. Coronation College and Busu Secondary, you've done well. I think when you get the results, you will see the areas of improvement for future debates. But for now, we commend you for a job well done, and congratulations once again.
Thank you, Mr. Eko. As they leave the stage, please thank the two schools, Busu Secondary School and Coronation College. The participants of Busu were Joyce Metakaisava, Alan Isaac, Mark Steven, and Komuna Caro. Thank you, Busu Secondary School. And the coronation participants were Renee Siaguru, Schneider Yasi, Annette Tikira, and Kelvin Kalate. Thank you, Coronation College.